we're talking about community and the importance of relationships, the importance of community, because every single one of us was created for community. We were created to be in relationship with other people. It's literally, I just believe God put it in our DNA. There's not a single human being that can survive outside of relationships with other people. We are not meant to be alone. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, God is creating the world, and it's perfect, and he creates Adam. But then he says this in Genesis 2, verse 18, the Lord God said, "It is not good for man to be alone, so I will make a helper suitable for him." All right, so then he makes Eve, and he gives Adam a companion so that he's no longer alone. And in that specific situation, he does bring them together to be together in marriage, right? That is a romantic relationship, but I believe it's so much more than that. It's a point about humanity as a whole. It is not good for us to be alone. We need each other. We need the people around us to just really be healthy on so many levels, right? We need relationships with other people to be healthy spiritually, but also healthy emotionally and mentally and physically. It's how God made us. It's how God created us. And I think most of you maybe realize the importance of relationships, or maybe you've experienced the effect of loneliness in your life, or you've seen the effect of loneliness in other people or yourself, right? It literally physically changes people when they're alone, when they're isolated, when we don't have healthy relationships in our life. It's damaging to us. And there's actual real studies about the effects of isolation on the human brain. Psychologists, they study the brain, right? And they see the way that loneliness affects the brain. And it's extremely detrimental. And it leads to, there's direct correlation to loneliness, isolation equals depression and anxiety. It's terrible for your mental health. And so you can just observe just from even a secular level or just a scientific level, it's not good for humans to be alone. Even people who don't read the Bible or believe in God know that that's true. You probably know that that's true. You probably experienced that, right? And just this generation, I think, is experiencing a plague of loneliness. And the rates for depression and anxiety and just mental health it's plummeting, right? It's more people are depressed than ever before. And surprisingly, at the same time, we're known as the most connected generation to ever live, because we have this, right? Every single person in the room probably has a phone, smartphone. And you also got Xbox, and you got a PlayStation, and you have a computer, and you have a tablet, right? You have something. You have a phone, right? Everybody has connection through technology, right? Everyone's texting each other. You're Snapchatting each other. You're connected on Instagram. You know, you got thousands of friends on the internet, but nobody knows you, because you have replaced real relationships with people with artificial versions of that, right? It's been replaced with texting people and just sending pictures to each other. I've seen this happen so many times where two people, they Snapchat each other all day long and they're texting each other all day long. You think they're best friends, and then they show up in the same room as each other and they do not even look at each other. They will not even say a word. And I'm sure you've probably done that. I did it when I was a kid, right? Because we've been trained to only have interaction through technology. And unfortunately, I think that is the reason why loneliness is higher than ever, why depression is more prevalent than ever. Because although we're connected with people, we don't really know people. People don't actually know us. We don't actually have relationships with people, right? That basic need that God put into us to be known by people, to be in relationship with people, is not being met because we don't really know each other, right? So we need community, and we are seeing why we need community so badly. It's destroying us. The lack of community, the lack of relationships, is destroying people. It's destroying society. So you guys need to see why we need community. And you want to know one of the biggest reasons why I believe Satan, one of his biggest goals is to get you alone, to isolate you. One, because he just knows the way it will impact you just even physically and mentally, right? But I think it's also because he thinks if he can get you alone, he maybe stands a chance, right? He can get you alone and he can sit and feed you lies about yourself and attack you while you're all by yourself. Nobody knows what's going on in your life, and you're just trying to shove it all down and keep it all hidden, and he's just eating you up, right? But the moment that you allow yourself to be known and you bring yourself into community, Satan has nothing on you. He doesn't stand a chance, right? And he knows that. He knows that if you are in community with people and you are known by people and you have people in your life to encourage you and to speak truth in your life and to pray for you and walk with you, there's nothing he can do about that. The only thing Satan really has anyways is lies. And so if you have someone in your life to speak truth over you and say, why are you thinking that? That's a lie, right? All of a sudden, gone. Everything Satan had on you is done. Through something as simple as just having someone in your life to tell you what's true, to tell you what's up, right? And so Satan is going to do everything that he can to get you isolated, to keep you from being known by people. And so it makes sense why we're seeing such a huge problem with this, right? I believe that Satan's doing everything he can to keep us alone and to put distractions in our life, to make us feel like we're okay when we're not, right? So we absolutely need community. We were created for it. We cannot afford to live without it. It is a basic, essential need in our life. Human interaction and being known by people is an essential need in your life. No more discussion, no arguments against that, all right? So if God has made us this way, if this is such an important need in our life, hopefully he would give us a way to fulfill that, right? Hopefully he would give us the opportunity to have that need met. And he 100% has done that. And the biggest way that he has done that is through the church, through you, everyone in this room is God's answer to your need for community, to your need to be known, right? To be seen, to be loved, to do life with people. God has given you the answer to that need in each other and through the people that he's placed in your life. And so just the church is God's way of providing every opportunity for you to meet that need and to do life with people. All right, and so we need to recognize the incredible opportunity that we have together when we meet together every single week. We have an incredible opportunity to change each other's lives, to be what somebody needs, right? To be the friend that somebody needs, to be the encouragement that someone needs. You also have the opportunity to receive the encouragement that you need, to receive the truth that you need somebody to say, right? To receive someone ready to build you up, right? We need to be involved and plugged into community. And what better place to do that than right here and when we meet together on a weekly basis, right? So true community happens in the church. And I would say I think there's opportunities for community in other places, but I think the church is your best opportunity for community, the greatest opportunity, because the quality of your community also matters, right? How many of you also know that not just anyone should be your friend, right? Like there are certain people in your life that are not good influences on you. They're probably not people that you should be close to, right? It's not just a matter of just being close to just anyone, not just being real with just anyone, but with the right people. And specifically for us, we need to surround ourselves with other believers, other people who are going to point us towards God, to encourage us in our walk with him, in our faith, not people who are going to distract us from that and pull us away from that. And so what better place to look for those kind of people than the church, right? And these people right here in this room. It's such an incredible opportunity to surround yourself with good people, with the right people. It's so important that we have the right people in our life, because you've probably heard me say this many times, but you are who you hang with. You will become who you spend most of your time with. And I'm sure you've also noticed that in your life. The people that you spend the most time with, you probably start to talk like them. You start to dress like them. You guys do the same things. You begin to just naturally look like each other and influence each other. And so it's important to pay attention to the people that you're spending your time with and that you're surrounding yourself with. Because if you surround yourself with the wrong people, they're going to influence you wrongly and poorly. They're going to pull you away from who God's calling you to be. So we need to understand that we need community, and we need the right community. And I think you have an opportunity for that right here on a Wednesday night. Okay? So that, number one, is community happens in the church, okay? But number two is that true community happens through vulnerability, all right? Oh, yeah, you can go to the next slide, all right? True community happens through vulnerability, because it's also very true that we can show up here every single week. We can be in the same room as everyone. We can talk to each other and be hanging out. We're connected, but that doesn't mean that we're actually engaging in real community. It doesn't mean that we're actually getting what we need from community. In the same way, I can have 3,000 friends or followers on Instagram, but yet none of them really know me, right? I'm connected with them. I may be interacting with them, but they don't know a single thing about me. They don't know what I'm going through. They don't know what I'm struggling with. They don't know where I'm hurting. They don't even know who I really am, like my personality, right? In the same way, you could show up every single week here and be connected and be aware of each other, and yet none of you know each other because you don't allow each other to be a part of your life, because you're not willing to be vulnerable. And so inherently, for community to work and for it to actually be meaningful, you have to be willing to be vulnerable. All right? It's just a non-negotiable. Because we do have an opportunity to encourage one another, to build each other up, to meet that need. But how in the world is somebody supposed to encourage you if they have no idea what you're going through? How can somebody pray for you if they don't know what you need prayer for? How can somebody know what you need if you don't show them? Right? And so a lot of times it's on us. The quality of our community is on us being willing to actually be vulnerable with people and allow people into our life and to see who we really are and to see what's going on. And I don't know, I just think generally this is one of the most challenging things for you guys and for this generation. Because again, I think it's been just beat into your head through social media and just culture and just the way things work nowadays, that vulnerability is the last thing that you do, right? No, put on a mask, put up your wall, don't let anyone see who you really are, show people who you want to pretend to be. Pretend like your life is perfect. Show everyone how put together you are. Show everyone how great your life is. Make everyone else jealous about how just perfectly wonderful your life is. All the while, you're falling apart and you're depressed and your life is an absolute disaster and nobody knows it because you pretend like everything's okay. And now it's created this expectation that you do have to be perfect, that you having struggles and pain in your life, all of a sudden you feel like, oh, I must be the only person that feels this way. I must just be weird. What's wrong with me? I'm the only person that struggles, that has pain. Look at how great everyone else's life is. I'm just terrible. I'm horrible, right? That is a total lie. Every single person is just full of it, right? Every one of us is broken. We need help. We need each other. There's not a single person in this world that's perfect. There's not a single person that has it all together. Every single one of us is broken, and we need community with each other. We need Jesus, one, but we need people in our life to actually see where we're broken and where we're hurting and allow them to build us up and encourage us. It's the only way that we're going to get better. The worst thing we can do with our struggle or our pain is keep it hidden and just stuff it inside, right? The only thing that's going to happen as a result of that is it's just going to eat you alive. You'll keep it hidden until it completely destroys you. The best thing you can possibly do with the sin in your life or the brokenness in your life or the hurt, the addiction, whatever it is that's destroying you, the best thing you could ever do is bring it into the light of community. Allow someone to be a part of it. Tell someone about it. Be vulnerable. And I know that's incredibly difficult. It's scary. But as you begin to choose to be vulnerable, it encourages vulnerability from other people as well. And all of a sudden, it creates this culture of vulnerability. And everyone starts to realize, oh, wow, you struggle with that too? Or, wow, we're both not perfect. Look at that, right? And now we're in this together. Let's encourage one another. Let's figure this out together. Let's walk through this together. And it can be completely life-changing. There's a few years ago, I was in, I think, the worst place I've ever been in my life, just mentally, spiritually, emotionally, everything. I was just getting to a really dark place. Partially because I was at school. I was studying to be a pastor. I was busy being a student. I was serving in a youth ministry. I was serving in other leadership positions at the school. I was busier than I've ever been, right? And everywhere I went, I was, supposed to be a leader, or I was, I was saving face for everyone around me because I'm supposed to be a leader and I'm staying busy and I'm doing all the right things, right? I can't let anyone see that I have issues or that I'm broken. And what did I do? I was struggling with just depression at the time. I was struggling with certain sin issues, and I just kept it to myself. And I just kept stuffing it deep down so no one saw it, right? Because I was supposed to be a leader. I was supposed to be this and this and that. I can't let people see that I mess up or that I struggle, right? And I kept it hidden, and it just slowly just ate away at me and destroyed me. And for the first time in my life, I was having panic attacks, anxiety attacks. I was like thoroughly depressed. I was for the first time ever started even doubting my faith, which I've never done in my life, but I was just falling apart. Like my mind was just like going crazy, and I was losing it. It just became this downward spiral that was just out of control. It was like I was to this point where it was like I allowed myself to just almost get to this point of no return. I was just in this deep, dark hole, and I was feeling pretty hopeless. Like I just didn't care anymore. But thankfully, by the grace of God, something in me said, I'm falling apart. I don't know what else to do. I need to tell somebody, right? And so after a couple weeks of thinking about it, I finally worked up the courage to go to one of my best friends at the time, someone I really trusted, and I told them everything I was going through. I confessed my sin to them. I told them how I was feeling. I told them just everything. I just let it out. And I literally just bawled in his arms like a baby. That's so embarrassing, right? What a loser. No, that was one of the best things I've ever done in my entire life. And I confess all that, and then we prayed together. And in a way I can't even describe, my life just completely flipped around. I went from the worst place I've ever been in my life to all of a sudden one of the best places I've ever been in my life. And God just brought so much healing through that and restoration. And it just completely flipped things around and just changed my life. And I needed somebody to pull me out of the hole that I could not climb out of myself, right? Sometimes we dig ourselves in such a deep hole that there's no way we're getting ourselves out of it. And the only thing that's going to get us out at that point is allowing someone else to help us to see that we're hurting, that we're struggling, right? It takes vulnerability. And I think it's one of the best things that you can ever do. And James chapter 5, verse 16, this is a verse during that time that I would constantly revisit. And this verse is actually one of the reasons why I finally worked up the courage to talk to someone. But it says, confess your sins to one another and pray for each other. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. It's a super simple verse. Just straight up confess your sins to one another and pray for one another, because that prayer is powerful and effective. And I experienced that to be true in my life when I was in my darkest point. The thing that changed everything was I just talked to someone and I prayed with them. And it was powerful. It was effective. It changed my life. And I think a lot of you in this room, you may simply just need to talk to someone, to just be vulnerable with someone, to pray with them. And I believe that can begin to just bring healing that you maybe never even experienced before, right? So God has given us every opportunity to meet our need for community, but it's up to us on if we're going to be willing to allow it to be impactful in our life through being vulnerable. That's a choice that we have to make. And the third point is that true community takes all of us. All right, point number 3. And again, we can all show up in the room every single week and yet not get anything out of it. What's going to make Wednesday night matter, what's going to make this place a community to you, is what you show up willing to give. How you show up to be on purpose when you're in this place. How you're intentional when you're in this place. Do you show up willing to be vulnerable? Are you going to allow people in this room to be a part of your life, to see who you are? Or are you just going to keep the mask on? Are you just going to keep the wall up? Right? Are you going to be willing to let people in? But also, are you going to be willing to encourage the people around you? Are you going to be willing to serve the people in this room? Are you going to be willing to pour out as much as you expect to be poured into? Because the church, the way God intended it, is meant to give every single person equal value, equal importance. Every single one of you is essential to this community. It cannot function and be fully what it's supposed to be if you don't show up willing to be invested, to be engaged, to be vulnerable, to pour into the people around you, right? Every single one of you has a role and a gift that God has given you. You have a way that you can serve this community. Whether it's simply through being a leader and taking charge and saying, I'm going to be vulnerable so that others can be vulnerable, or it's saying, hey, I have a gifting to play music or sing. I'm going to serve on the worship team. I'm going to serve on the tech booth. I'm really good at being welcoming and hospitable. I'm going to make sure that when I see someone new show up on a Wednesday night, I'm going to go up and introduce myself. I'm going to be a friend to them, right? We need to recognize what we have to offer and come ready to give that, to come ready to actually offer that in order for this community to really be alive and be what it's supposed to be. A community is only as good as the people who make up that community, right? It will only be what you make it. Because I can sit up here and I can blab all day long, but nothing's going to really happen or change or be impactful unless you choose to act and to do something, right? It's up to you on if this community is going to be impactful and meaningful. It's up to you on if you're going to actually get something out of this community and on if this community is going to be able to meet the need for a relationship in your life. It's up to you. You are not meant to be consumers. You are meant to be contributors. All right? Every single one of you has something to give. You're not just a bystander. You're not just a consumer. You have something incredibly valuable to offer. And the people around you need you to be engaged. They need you to be real. They need you to be invested in them. They need you to see them, right? We need each other so badly. We need to be a family to one another, to be a true friend to one another, to not just be connected through social media or text messages, but to be connected because we're really sharing our life together and going deep with one another, being vulnerable. Alex, if you want to come on back up here. I want to do something tonight that I wasn't initially planning on coming into tonight, but I want to give an opportunity for us to just respond to this in a real way. So tonight we're talking about how we need community and the importance of it and how we need to be vulnerable and how life-changing that can be, all that. And so I want to give an opportunity to you tonight to actually do that, to be community for one another, to be vulnerable with each other, to encourage each other, to just do exactly what we've been talking about, okay? And so Alex is going to play some worship for us. But more importantly, I'm going to have all of you get together with at least one other person. You could get in groups of 2 or 3, and I'm going to challenge you to get together and to just be in community together, to be in relationship together, and just be real, be vulnerable, maybe confess sin that you're struggling with. Confess something that's just kicking your butt right now. Maybe you heard me tell that story about how I was just in that downward spiral, and tonight you were like, man, that is me right now. You have an opportunity tonight to share that with someone and to pray together. And I'm telling you, I think it may be a very simple moment, but I believe it could completely transform your life. Completely turn things around for you. Could be healing for you. All right, so Alex, you can go ahead and start playing, but I'm going to have everyone stand up, okay? And whether you stand or you sit, I want you to feel free to move throughout the room, but please take this time seriously. Challenge yourself. Get outside your comfort zone. Make this time valuable. Do not waste this opportunity, all right? And let's be engaged during this time, okay? And if your group is done praying together or talking together, maybe go get with someone else or just continue to engage in worship and just spend your own personal time. Maybe you also need to be vulnerable with God, right? After you be vulnerable with each other, you need to take time to be real with God, okay? So we're just gonna let this be a really real and raw moment together, all right? And I'll come up and dismiss us in a little bit, but let's just take this time seriously.